Alright guys, happy Monday to all you cool cats and kittens. Today we're going to talk about approximating square roots. Okay, so go ahead and write down that objective for me. I can approximate a non-perfect square root. A non-perfect square root. So on Friday we took a look at all of the perfect square roots, and I really enjoyed watching all your flip grids. Some of you need to speak a little faster, some of you need to speak a little slower, but that's all good. So go ahead and write that down. I can approximate a non-perfect square root. On Friday we talked about all the perfect ones. Okay, today we're talking about the non-perfect ones. Before we even get to what the non-perfect ones are, what does approximate mean? What does approximate? Approximate means that we're going to estimate. Write that for me. Okay? Approximate means estimate. So we're going to try to get close to the answer. We may not get exactly the right answer, but we're going to get close to it. Okay? That's what we're trying to get to. Okay? We're going to come up with some different tools, some different techniques that we can use so that we can approximate and estimate our square root. Okay? So, real quick, let's review our perfect square roots from the other day, from Friday. So if we look at this, 1 times 1 equals 1. You might have your chart from Friday that I wanted you to write down. So if you don't have it, get it down now. I want you to memorize these first 15. Your life will be so much easier. Okay? 2 times 2, 4. 3 times 3, 9. 4 times 4, 16. 5 times 5, 25. 6 times 6, 36. 7 times 7, 49. 8 times 8, 64. 9 times 9, 81. 10 times 10, 100. 11, 121. 12 times 12, 144. Now here's the 3 tricky ones that you may not know, but remember the pattern here. 13 times 13, 169. 14 times 14, 196. 15 times 15, 225. If you already had your chart down from Friday, look back at that. You ought to be practicing those. But if you don't, here it is again. If you need to pause it and copy it down, go for it. Okay? All right, here we go. Let's take a look at the next one. No, the other thing I want to do is I want to review a number line just because. All right? Don't write this, just hang out with me for a second. All right. If I do a number line, right, a lot of times we think of 0 as our beginning point in the middle. Because now we're in 8th grade, we know there's positives and negatives. So I got 1, 2, 3, right? It goes on forever and ever. -1, -2, -3, right? That's a number line that we're used to seeing. Now, I want to take that again, though, and I want to zoom in. So I'm going to zoom in on this section right here between, I don't want to zoom in on that one. Let's zoom in between 0 and 1. So I'm going to zoom in on this section right here, okay? Watch what happens. So I'm just going to zoom in and make that a whole lot bigger. So there's 0 and there's 1. Not 0, dummy. 0 and 1. Okay. Now, what about the points in between 0 and 1? A lot of you might be saying, hey, 0.5, 5/10, right? Halfway in between is 5/10. But then also remember, think of money with me. So that'd be like 50 cents. That would be $1. What about right here? What would that be? That would be 1/10 or 10 cents. Right here, 0.2, right? Right here, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, okay? So there's all those points in between 0 and 1 that we need to remember. The important ones that you need to remember for really today is here, here, and here, okay? 0.1 or 0.2, 0.5, 0.9, 0.8. Those are the important ones for today, and that'll make sense. Okay, you ready? Here we go, let's take a look at it. So, what if I have the square root of 17? What perfect squares are close to the square root of 17? Perfect square that's a little bit underneath, write this with me, is the square root of 16. The perfect square that is above is the square root of 25. Okay? So now, what do those two numbers equal? Well, I know that those two numbers equal square root of 16, 4 times 4, and I know that the square root of 25 is 5 times 5 and equals 5. So that means that the square root of 17 has to be somewhere in between 4 and 5. Now, if I think to my number line, here we go, and here we go, there's 4 and 5. where would square root of 17 fall closer to? Is it closer to 16 or is it closer to 25? Well, here it's only 1 away, right? Here it is a whole lot more than 1 away. In fact, it is 8 away. So I know that my answer is going to be closer to 4 than it is to 5. And a whole lot closer. If I go back to my number line, right, it's going to end up over here, okay? So with that being said, my answer is going to be close to 4.1. That's a good approximation for what the square root of 17 is. I hope that kind of makes sense, guys. So let's take a look at another one. We're going to stay in the same area, though. So here we go. Now I got the square root of 24. Perfect square that's below 24. Square root of 16 again. Perfect square that's above 24. Square root of 25. We just talked about this is 4. 25 is 5. Let's do my number line again. Okay, there's 4, there's 5. Now this time, where is the square root of 24 a whole lot closer to? Here it's only 1 away, and to 16 it is 8 away. So it's a whole lot closer to 25 than it is to 16. So I would put my dot somewhere in this area. Now what would be my approximation there? My approximation would be less than 5, but close to 5. So if it's going to be less than 5, it's going to be somewhere in this area. You see that? So with that being said, my approximation could probably be 4.9. There's my answer. Okay? Hopefully that kind of makes sense a little bit. Let's do one more in this same area. Okay, now I have the square root of 20. The square root of 20, the perfect square below it, is square root of 16. The perfect square above it is the square root of 25. Once again, we have 4 over here. We have 5 over here. Let's do our number line in the middle. Okay, now, how close, how far away is it from 16? It's 4 away. How far away is it from 25? 5. Notice how similar these points are. They're pretty similar, right? So if they're pretty similar, that means that the square root of 20 is going to be pretty close to the middle. And if I go back to my number line from the beginning, I know that in the middle, right there, 0.5. Okay? So I'm going to maybe say 4.5. So there's my approximation for square root of 20. Now I put these other ones up here on 17 and 24 to put it all together. So with that being said, here was the square root of 17, which we said our estimate was 4.1. And here is the square root of 24, which we said our estimate was 4.9. See how those all work? All of those numbers in between 16 and 25 are going to be there. Okay? Let's do a couple more here. A couple more. A little bit longer day today, but that's okay. All right, I got the square root of 54. The square root of 54. Let's drag that over there in the middle. Okay, square root of 54. What perfect square is below it? Look on your chart and see. Where would 54 fall in? 54 would fall in between the square root of 49 and the square root of 64. Now, if I simplify those, square root of 49, we know that that's going to be 7. We know the square root of 64 is going to be 8. Now let's figure out which one is it closer to. Which one is it closer to? 49 is 6 away from 54. Okay? 54 and 64, 10 away. Okay? Pretty close to the middle, not too far away. So here we go. There's my number line, right? Put it close to the middle, maybe a little bit closer to 7 than to 8. All right? So maybe I want something a little bit less than half. Maybe if I go back to my number line here, a little bit less than half, maybe in the 3 area. Okay, so let's look at that. So I have the square root of 54 close to 7, let's just say 0.3. 7.4 is a good estimate. I would probably even say 7.5 is a good estimate. Anything like that is close, right? Because we're just approximating, we're estimating. All right, let's look at another one. Here we go, 120 now. I got 2 more, guys, 120. All right, so perfect square root, look at your chart. Where would it fall in? I know that it's going to fall in between the square root of 100. That's the smaller one. The one right above it, 121. Okay. Once again, if you memorize, it's going to make your life easier. I know this is 10. I know this is 11. Okay, here's my number line. 120. Which one is it closest to? It's 20 away here. And it's only 1 away here, so I know it's going to be close to 11. Real close. So I might think 10.9. 10.9 for my estimate. Okay? All right, last one. Here we go, the square root of 200. The square root of 200. Actually, you know what? I'm going to change that. Let's do the square root of 212. Square root of 212. Okay? So on the low end, this is the biggest one we got. On the low end, I know that it's going to be in between 196 and the highest one that we are going to have to memorize, 225. Which tells me that it's going to be between 14 and 15. Okay, here's my number line. Let's draw it for me. All right. Now let's figure out how far away it is. How far away is 212? It's a little bit trickier here. I got 4. I got 16. Here I got 13. Pretty close to the middle. So I think a great estimate would be, what? 14.5. Okay? We're going to start working on the bell ringer. We're going to have some practice. We're going to spend 2 days on this. It's a tough lesson, but we're going to go ahead and spend 2 days on it so that we can make sure that we get it. Cool?